You're watching Chicago Bears Now by Chat Sports. I am your host, Harrison Graham. Let's dive into the latest rumors surrounding the Chicago Bears, and let's talk Teddy Bridgewater. Could the Bears trade for him? This one's fake news. Naturally, after the Carolina Panthers traded for Sam Darnold, Bears Twitter was sliding in the DMs and tweeting at me, hey, what about going to get Teddy gloves? This doesn't make any sense. Now, we'll get the background here. Obviously, Carolina has traded for Sam Darnold, and they've allowed Teddy Bridgewater to seek a trade. They're going to help him facilitate his future, whether that's in Carolina or somewhere else. But they're clearly looking at Sam Darnold to be their starter for next season. And this, of course, led to all kinds of stuff from not just Bears fans, but people on Twitter. Oh, maybe Chicago could trade for him. Bring him in. He can come compete with Andy Dalton. This makes no sense. This makes less sense than signing Andy Dalton did at the time, because now you have Andy Dalton and Nick Foles. Why not add another bridge quarterback? No, pun intended, actually. Now that I think about it, you've got two bridge quarterbacks in Nick Foles and Andy Dalton. Teddy Bridgewater's a bridge quarterback. He's nice. You could argue he's an upgrade over the two that you have, but it's minimal. He is not a long-term solution at the quarterback position, and trading for him makes no sense. Doesn't make sense. He's going to end up going to a team like Denver maybe or something like that, or he might stay with Carolina in case Sam Darnold doesn't work out. Chicago trading for him doesn't give you any value. It just isn't a value play for the Chicago Bears. Focus on the draft. Continue to see what's up with Russell Wilson in Seattle, but don't waste your time with Teddy Bridgewater, because he's not going to make you some superior football team based on what you already have at the quarterback position. So should the Bears trade for him? We'll leave it up to you guys. Type Y for yes. Type N for no. I'm not interested. It makes less sense than signing Andy Dalton. Imagine actually giving up more draft capital for a bridge quarterback like you did last year in Nick Foles. I'm going to type my in for no, but get your votes in on this one. Another reason to not do it, and of course he could restructure his deal, but $17.7 million against the cap this year, $20 million next year? No thanks. I'm not doing that if I'm Chicago. I'm not doing that if I'm any NFL team. And it's nothing against Teddy Bridgewater, but as much as we hated the Andy Dalton signing, his cap hit's only $5.3 million this year. I'll take Andy Dalton at $5.3 million cap money instead of $17.7, which is what you would have to pay for Teddy Bridgewater. So just an extra reason to not do it. And to just circle back to the point of, you've got two bridge quarterbacks. Neither of them are great in Andy Dalton and Nick Foles, but neither is Teddy Bridgewater. None of those three quarterbacks are making a major difference in your future. Those are potential bridge options for this year, maybe next year, but long term, no. These are not guys that you would turn to and say, hey, we got our quarterback for the next half decade. Just not the case when it comes to Teddy Bridgewater or Andy Dalton or Nick Foles, which is why I think the Bears will continue to explore more long-term options, whether that be a Russell Wilson or someone in the NFL draft. If you want more draft videos or Bears videos in general, hit that subscribe button. It's youtube.com/Bears Now. Our draft coverage is increasing with April's draft just over 3 weeks away. So keep it here. Hit that big red button and subscribe. Remember, our goal here, let's hit 25,000 subscribers before the NFL draft begins on April 29th. We can get there with your help, so go ahead and hit that big red button. Now, the SMOKIN J rumor meter is as follows. Maybe you're a first-time Bears Now watcher. 0 SMOKIN J's. It's fake news. It's not going to happen, which is what I gave the Teddy Bridgewater trade idea. 1 SMOKIN J. That's barely true. It could happen, but it's very unlikely. 2 SMOKIN J's. People are talking. Could happen. Could not happen. 3 SMOKIN J's. Yeah, it's pretty likely, but not guaranteed. And then, of course, 4 SMOKIN J's. Bear down, because it is happening. That is the SMOKIN J rumor meter here on Chicago Bears Now. Let's talk about trading up for a quarterback here on Bears Now. I am Harrison Graham, and there's a lot of teams in the top 10 that could be looking to move down in the NFL draft. And if you are Chicago, you're probably going to have to get up to the top 10 to trade for a quarterback. The Falcons, according to ESPN's Adam Schefter, is the latest team that's been linked to trading down. He tweeted this earlier on Tuesday, saying, with teams locked into the first 3 overall picks, the Falcons now have received trade calls from multiple teams and are open to moving out of the number 4 spot per source. So you got Atlanta at number 4. You've got the Panthers, who just traded for Sam Darnold. I think they make a lot of sense to move down now unless they still want to take a quarterback. And then the Lions have been another team that's been linked to moving down as well. They're at number 7, and the Bears sitting at pick number 20. You're not going to get one of the top 5 quarterback prospects at 20 because what do we know as of now? We know Trevor Lawrence is going number 1. We know Zach Wilson's going number 2, at least, okay, we'll say 95% chance. And number 3, whether it's Mac Jones or someone else, the Niners are taking a quarterback at number 3. So what do I think of all that? I think 5 quarterbacks are going top 10. And it may be top 7 or top 8. That's just how this draft is shaking out right now because executives are looking at this and saying, these quarterback prospects are really strong. This is a strong quarterback class, and you look ahead to next year, there's a lot of unknown with the 2022 draft class at quarterback, so teams are being aggressive, like the 49ers moving up to the number 3 pick. And these 5 guys are all drawing major buzz. Forget Trevor Lawrence, we know he's gone. I think you can say the same with Zach Wilson to the Jets at number 2. I think that was signaled yesterday once they traded away Sam Darnold. And the momentum right now is that Mac Jones is the front runner to go number 3 to the 49ers, but even if he doesn't, one of those other 2 guys in Trey Lance or Justin Fields will. So what does all that mean? If you're the Bears, you got to move up into the top 10 if you want a chance to get a quarterback, one of those 5 quarterbacks. It's just as simple as that. It's going to cost a lot, but if you want one of those 5 quarterback prospects, you're going to have to move up into the top 10, maybe even into the top 7 or 8. So, what do you guys think? Should the Bears trade up for a quarterback? Type 1 for yes, type 2 for no. Go ahead and get your votes in on this one if you think the Bears should trade up and get a quarterback. And while you're pondering that vote, let's just circle back to a couple of weeks ago before, of course, the Eagles got involved and it kind of became a 3-team trade. This was the initial value when San Francisco moved up from number 12 to number 3. They gave up number 12 this year, a first next year, a first in 2023, and a third. So 3 firsts and a third to move up 9 spots. It's going to cost quite a bit for Chicago to move from 20 to, say, number 7 with Detroit, or number 8 with Carolina, or, dare I say, number 4 with the Atlanta Falcons. That's going to cost you quite a bit. You may have to throw a player in there as well. Brad Spielberger, who does work with Pro Football Focus, he threw this idea when it comes to the number 4 pick for Chicago. If it cost the Niners what I just showed you, he believes it would cost to go from number 20 to 4, your first this year, your second this year, your third this year, plus 2 more firsts if you're only utilizing picks. Now, maybe if you throw in a Roquan Smith or someone like that, you can chop off one of those firsts, but the point is, it's going to cost a lot to move up from 20 to 4, and it's still going to cost a lot to get into the top 10, which, again, is where you're going to have to get to if you want to get one of those top 5 quarterback prospects, because, again, top 3 teams, those are locks to take quarterbacks. 3 of the 5, they're already gone. We may not know who the third one is, but they're gone nonetheless. Atlanta, maybe they trade down. Maybe they draft a quarterback at 4. Cincinnati won't. Obviously, they have Penei Sewell, but they could shop that pick. Miami, I think, will take one of the skill players in Kyle Pitts or Jalen Waddle, Devontae Smith, whoever it is. Detroit, there's been chatter. Maybe they could take a quarterback or they could trade down. Carolina, they could still take a quarterback, but probably a trade-down candidate. And then Denver's a candidate as well. I think you got to get above Denver to feel comfortable that you're going to get one of those quarterbacks that we previously have talked about here on Chicago Bears. Now, it's going to cost a lot. It's going to take a lot. But if you're serious about getting a quarterback for the future, that is what it's going to take for the Chicago Bears. So pick one. Let's just say Mac Jones is going 3 to San Francisco. That's where the momentum is right now. If you can trade up for one of these guys, which one are you picking? Type JF for Justin Fields, type TL for Trey Lance. Let us know which quarterback prospect you would rather trade up for in the comments section. Now, today's episode of Chicago Bears Now is presented by Newsbreak. We've partnered with the Newsbreak app, and basically this is what Newsbreak is all about. If you want to keep up with local news, local sports, politics, and plus more Bears Now videos. We've partnered up with these guys. Some of our videos are on Newsbreak now. Then go ahead and download the app and use our link. It really supports the show. Go to chatsports.com/BearsNB. Again, local news, sports, Bears Now coverage, Bears articles as well. And hey, if regardless of your city or zip code, it's going to tie in based on your location. Maybe you're a Bears fan out in California. Let's say you live in San Francisco and you're a Bears fan. You can get San Francisco Bay Area local news, weather, and politics, and those type of things, and still find our Bears Now videos by simply searching Bears Now in the search bar after you download the app. This is some of the stuff Newsbreak offers. Like I've been saying, tons of different stuff. I use it every day. We live here in Dallas. I can check the weather. I can check the news going around town. Can keep up, with the Cowboys, the Texas Rangers, all that stuff. It's very, very helpful. Help us out. Chatsports.com/BearsNB. Let's get to 100 followers on the Newsbreak app on Chicago Bears Now. We're at 85 right now. Let's continue to grow over there. They've really supported us by partnering up with us. And if you want to support the show, this is an easy way to do so. Go ahead and download the Newsbreak app by going to chatsports.com/BearsNB. Let's talk Nick Foles trade rumors here on Chicago Bears Now. Sports Illustrated threw this idea out there as a potential trade target for the Broncos. Two Smokin' Jays. People are talking. It's possible, and I definitely think it's something the Bears should consider. This is not an idea that is new. This has kind of been one of those rumors that has kind of come and gone over the past couple of months because from the Broncos side of this, they want to bring in at least competition for Drew Lock. Now, as you guys know and as we saw last year, Nick Foles isn't much at this point, right? But from the Broncos side, they're thinking, do we really just want to roll Drew Lock out there without anyone pushing him? They've been linked to several veteran quarterbacks. Teddy Bridgewater's another one, Alex Smith as well. And if you're the Bears, trade Nick Foles. You signed Andy Dalton. You don't need Nick Foles. Like, you can draft the quarterback either early or even later if you want to just get a backup, and you roll with Dalton and whoever that player is. You don't need Nick Foles if you're the Bears. You're not going to get much for him, but if you get a 6th-round pick, I think it's worth it if you are the Chicago Bears. And if a team like Denver wants to value his veteran leadership and competition for a young quarterback like Drew Lock, hey, that's fine with me. I think the Nick Foles experiment, in my opinion, is over in Chicago. And if a team wants to take him on, I've got no issues with that whatsoever. So what should the Bears do with Foles? What would you rather see happen? Type T for trade him, type K for keep him. I'm not saying I'm going to be devastated or anything if they keep him. It's no skin off my back, but I would try to trade him and see if you can get something for him. So I'm going to type my T for trade, but get your votes in on that one. And the reason I'm like, sayonara, I don't need to see Nick Foles anymore is, guys, we watched him last year. He just wasn't very good, and the circumstances weren't great for him. The offensive line really struggled during the 7 starts he made, and overall, he just wasn't very effective, especially throwing the ball downfield. Now, behind a better O-line, perhaps more consistency from the play calling as well. Maybe he'd play a little better, but you signed Andy Dalton, so it doesn't really make sense to keep Nick Foles. You don't sign Andy Dalton to compete with Nick Foles. You sign Andy Dalton because you think he's an upgrade, and that's what the Bears have said. They've called him the starting quarterback time and time again since they made that move. So, hey, trade Nick Foles. Get a 6th-round pick for him. I don't know if a team will give you a 6th for him. I'd take a 7th because he just doesn't have much value on this team at this point in time. The experiment just did not work for the Chicago Bears in 2020.